The sound of shattered glass echoed through the enormous mansion just as another nanny hurried out the front door with tears streaming down her face. A private tutor quit before lunchtime. 2 security guards refused to work inside the children's wing ever again. Even the house manager, who had worked for the family for nearly 20 years, quietly admitted that nobody seemed capable of reaching the billionaire's twin daughters. They weren't simply mischievous children. They had become experts at driving every adult away, building invisible walls around hearts that had already been broken long before anyone noticed. Their father had almost unlimited wealth, yet every dollar in his fortune failed to buy the one thing his daughters desperately needed. Sometimes the greatest cries for love are hidden behind the loudest acts of rebellion. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, forgiveness, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner for more heart-touching stories that remind us how powerful compassion can truly be. In the quiet suburbs outside Boston, Massachusetts, billionaire Nathaniel Brooks owned one of the largest technology companies in America. Newspapers admired his business success. Financial magazines praised his leadership. Television interviews called him a visionary. Yet every evening, when he returned to his magnificent estate, he walked into a home that felt emptier than any apartment he had lived in before becoming successful. 3 years earlier, his beloved wife, Rebecca, had lost her battle with cancer, leaving behind 9-year-old twin daughters, Grace and Hannah. That tragedy had broken the family in ways that money could never repair. Nathaniel buried himself in work because it hurt too much to face the silence waiting for him at home. The twins responded differently. Instead of crying openly, they transformed their grief into anger. Every nanny, teacher, therapist, and caregiver who entered their lives eventually gave up. The girls destroyed expensive furniture, hid important documents, pulled elaborate pranks, and refused every attempt at discipline or affection. Behind every cruel joke and every angry outburst lived 2 frightened little girls who secretly believed that everyone they loved would eventually leave them. Across town, another parent fought a very different battle. Michael Carter lived in a tiny rented apartment with his 8-year-old son, Caleb. Michael had lost his wife, Sarah, in a devastating car accident 4 years earlier. Unlike Nathaniel, Michael had never possessed wealth to soften life's hardships. He worked long hours as a janitor for a cleaning company that serviced office buildings, schools, and occasionally private estates. Every dollar mattered. Every overtime shift meant groceries for another week. Every sacrifice was made with one purpose in mind, giving Caleb a childhood filled with love despite everything they had lost. Michael understood grief better than most people ever would. There had been nights when he cried quietly after Caleb had fallen asleep because he didn't want his son to see how broken he felt. Yet each morning he chose to smile anyway. He packed school lunches with little handwritten notes of encouragement. He attended every baseball practice, no matter how exhausted he was. He believed children did not need perfect parents. They needed parents who never stopped showing up. One rainy Monday, Michael's supervisor informed him that their company had secured a temporary contract cleaning the Brooks estate after several employees had unexpectedly quit. Nobody explained why so many workers refused to return. Michael simply accepted the assignment with gratitude because it came with extra pay. The Brooks mansion was unlike anything Michael had ever seen. Marble floors stretched endlessly beneath crystal chandeliers. Priceless artwork decorated towering walls. Beautiful gardens surrounded the property like something from a movie. Yet despite all its beauty, the home felt strangely cold. It lacked the laughter that transforms a house into a family. Only 30 minutes into his first shift, Michael heard rapid footsteps racing down the hallway. Seconds later, 2 identical girls sped past him, chased by an exhausted housekeeper carrying paint-covered towels. Bright blue fingerprints covered the hallway walls. Michael simply smiled politely and continued mopping. Grace noticed his reaction immediately. Most adults yelled. Others threatened punishment. Some complained to their father. This man merely kept cleaning as though blue paint on marble floors was just another part of his day. The twins exchanged confused glances. Later that afternoon they hid Michael's cleaning supplies throughout the mansion, expecting frustration or anger. Instead, he quietly searched room after room until he found every missing item. When he discovered a bucket hidden beneath a staircase, he chuckled softly before placing it back on his cart. The girls watched from upstairs, puzzled. Nobody laughed anymore. Over the following days they escalated their tricks. Soap appeared inside his mop bucket. Fake insects were placed inside storage closets. Wet floor signs mysteriously disappeared while he worked. Michael responded with the same steady patience every single time. Something about him refused to be shaken. Unknown to the twins, Michael recognized every test they created. Caleb had gone through his own season of anger after losing his mother. He remembered broken picture frames, slammed doors, and painful words spoken by a grieving little boy who didn't truly mean them. Michael had learned an important lesson during those difficult years. Hurt children often ask one silent question again and again. Will you leave me too? One afternoon, while cleaning the mansion's enormous library, Michael noticed a dusty piano sitting untouched in the corner. Family photographs rested nearby. Nearly every picture included Rebecca smiling while her daughters laughed beside her. The happiness frozen inside those frames contrasted painfully with the silence filling the room. As Michael dusted the piano, he absent-mindedly began humming an old hymn his late wife used to sing while cooking dinner. The melody floated gently through the mansion. Unknown to him, Grace and Hannah stood quietly outside the doorway. For the first time since their mother passed away, neither girl interrupted the music. The song awakened memories they had buried beneath years of anger. Rebecca had sung the same hymn every Sunday morning. That evening, the twins didn't break anything. Nathaniel noticed immediately. The following week brought another surprise. Michael arrived with Caleb because school had ended early and childcare arrangements had unexpectedly fallen through. After receiving permission from the house manager, Caleb quietly sat in a corner reading library books while his father worked. Grace and Hannah spotted him almost instantly. Unlike every other child they had met through expensive private schools, Caleb wore simple clothes and well-used sneakers. Yet he smiled more than anyone living inside the mansion. Eventually curiosity overcame pride. They watched him build a small tower from discarded cardboard boxes waiting for recycling. Instead of protecting his creation, Caleb left extra pieces nearby as though silently inviting others to help. The twins hesitated. Then, without saying a word, they joined him. For nearly 2 hours, 3 children transformed old boxes into an imaginary castle complete with towers, bridges, and hidden tunnels. Michael glanced toward them while sweeping nearby. He didn't interrupt. He simply smiled. Because sometimes healing begins long before anyone realizes it has started. Nathaniel returned home early that afternoon and froze in disbelief. His daughters were laughing. Real laughter. Not mocking laughter. Not cruel laughter. The joyful sound he hadn't heard since Rebecca was alive. He quietly stood behind the doorway, afraid that entering the room might somehow make the moment disappear. As the days turned into weeks, something remarkable unfolded. Grace stopped throwing food during dinner. Hannah began helping elderly gardeners carry watering cans. The staff noticed fewer broken objects. The atmosphere inside the mansion slowly warmed. None of it happened because someone finally outsmarted the twins. It happened because one ordinary janitor refused to stop treating them with patience, dignity, and unconditional kindness. Michael never lectured them. He never tried to replace their mother. He simply became a safe adult who kept showing up. And for 2 little girls terrified of abandonment, consistency became the language of love. Nathaniel eventually invited Michael into his office, determined to understand what countless experts had failed to accomplish. Looking around the luxurious room, Michael realized something important. The billionaire wasn't an uncaring father. He was simply a grieving husband who had forgotten that his daughters needed his presence far more than his success. Instead of offering complicated advice, Michael gently encouraged Nathaniel to spend less time chasing business victories and more time creating ordinary memories with Grace and Hannah. Children rarely remember expensive gifts forever. They remember bedtime stories, weekend pancakes, fishing trips, and parents who choose them over work. Nathaniel listened with tears quietly filling his eyes. He knew the janitor was right. Before the story reaches its unforgettable ending, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment with the words, "Kindness changes lives," if you believe love and patience can heal even the deepest wounds. Your message may encourage someone who desperately needs hope today. If this story has touched your heart so far, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support allows us to continue sharing inspiring stories that remind the world kindness is never wasted.